everyone. So my name is Shiti, and the title of the presentation is Finding Utility for NFTs. Who am I? I serve as Chief Operating Officer at FSL, which is Find Satoshi Labs. So there's a lot of finding here. Let's hope I can find some utility in the next 15 minutes. So FSL is the parent product studio, the creators of StepIn, but also of our Door, which is our DEX, of More, which is our NFT launchpad and marketplace. And we've recently announced a Web3 social game called Gas Hero. And more on this and a lot more in the next few minutes. But first, let's begin with where we are in Web 2. So there is a famous app infrastructure cycle that Danny and Nick Grossman wrote in their beautiful post in USV about 5 years ago. They start talking about the fact that there is a beautiful circuitous relationship between app and infrastructure, and every cycle of app inspires the next infrastructure cycle. It happens across industry. They've mapped very beautifully how it happened in Web 2. So starting from the messaging and email clients back in 1970s, which then led to Ethernet, which then led to email clients, which then led to Gmail, and so on and so forth. It happened across infrastructure cases as well. For example, planes are the applications that led to infrastructure of airports. Electric bulb is the application that then led to infrastructure of electric grid. However, with crypto, we are at a point where there's just too many L1s, L2s, browser extensions, multi-chain bridges, wallets, rollups, ZK EVMs. Where are the users? Where are the apps onboarding the users onto Web3? And my punt is on the builders, building in this bear, who are onboarding users, who are building the apps, such as people from FSL. Shameless plug, but sorry, but not sorry. And this is where NFTs come in the picture. Because NFTs not only enable building of these apps, but more importantly, in adoption of these apps. Justin Kan, who is the founder of Twitter, once famously said that first-time founders are obsessed with product, and second-time founders are obsessed with distribution. There's a lot of truth in that. From our experience in building StepIn to a peak user base of 1 million daily active users, yes, you heard that right, 1 million daily active users in crypto. We were breaking Solana chain, sorry but not sorry. We were flipping Ethereum and Bitcoin on exchanges. Is that there are 3 things that worked really well for us. And we kept repeating that iteratively in the buckets of content, engagement, and virality. So content is broadly at the intersection of education and entertainment, largely led by the horse's mouth. So when I say that, I mean founders. Weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, midnight, our founders were always there answering community questions. Whether the app was crashing, whether the app was peaking, they were always there to answer users' questions. We have probably one of the largest setups of customer care services in Web3, let alone in Web 2. Followed by engagement, which is Twitter Spaces, Discord AMAs, IRL events, basic things, but done right. At one point, we had events going from all parts of the world. So with the community on their own accord, getting together and talking about StepIn, onboarding users, people creating the first NFT wallets, people purchasing their first NFTs. And this was happening across LA, Miami, Taipei, Taiwan, Philippines, Japan, Melbourne, UK, London, Australia, everywhere across the world. And I'm missing cities. And such is the power of engagement. Not to mention virality, which includes drops, influencers, memes. And this all is made possible by NFTs. However, you all must have seen the Nansen charts, which show NFT sales crashing, and yes, they are. The monthly sales are down badly, 50% on both ETH and Sol chains. And I think this quarter we are down 35% versus Q1. However, there's one very interesting thing. So while monthly sales volumes are down on the exchanges and chains, the interaction between these wallets and NFTs have actually gone up. So just possibly and probably, it's not the NFTs that are dead, but speculative trading is. So once again, the focus is on utility versus speculation. So where is this utility? Is it in the room with us right now? Let's see. Our biggest fund is that gaming will probably be one of the strongest on-ramps to Web3. We've seen what happened with StepIn. There are things that worked really well for us in terms of investments, which of course leverages the biggest part of Web3, in terms of strategy, that it's not just gambling and luck, people actually use their intelligence, because gambling just uses luck, whereas strategizing uses intelligence and keep drawing people in again and again. And the third thing is giving people experience. What people would normally do, which is walk, jog, or run in real life, we gave them an excuse to do that on-chain and get rewards. The things that we've learned from StepIn is, again, how to improve on this economic cycle, how to improve on asset surplus, and how to create a social game in Web3. And this is what we're going to do with Gas Hero. You can obviously learn more on the Twitter Gas Hero official. We just concluded a fabulous Twitter Spaces educating about this space and what Web3 social game would look like. And there is a contest that is going, which is sharing a prize pool of 2 million GMTs. GMTs are governance token, where we are involving users to invite designs for what we call as Gas Hero. It's set in post-apocalyptic world. I shan't say too much about it, and we'll move on to the second biggest use case after gaming in Web3, and that's undoubtedly art and entertainment. As a startup founder, one of the first questions people often ask is, what problems are you solving? And the answer often has to do with either saving people time or saving people money. But as it turns out, looking at the success of Netflix and TikTok, right now, there is much needed space to serve people's lonely lives, and that is what entertainment is about. That is what NFT culture is about. It's not just, and I'm guilty of that, it's not just about composability, indivisibility, transparency. Those are just technical property of ERC 721 structure. Those are just technical property of what NFTs is about. And yes, as builders, as devs, we ought to know that. But for retail, it's what NFT culture has come about. Frank does a good job of this. 9gag does a good job of this. And therefore, NFT culture is entertainment, and that's a killer feature. And that is something that we've leveraged well for our second product, which is more. So using AI, we have now launched a tool called GNT on our NFT marketplace and Launchpad. GNT stands for Generative NFT Tools. There are, in a few months of launch, there are close to 900,000 AIGC, AI-generated content, AIGC images already live on our platform. So essentially, you can go from an idea to NFT projects in minutes and deploy it on-chain using GNT and Fairmint process on more. Once again, you can learn more on @moreofficial on our Twitter. And there is, once again, a 120K GMT contest going live in relation to how you can create these images. Moving on, there are several emergent use cases. We've all seen what can happen in music with Rihanna and Snoop Dogg. Coachella did ticketing. Artifact did with virtual fashion. Banksy has done amazing things with physical art. American Cancer Society recently did fundraise. University of California is issuing degrees and trialing on NFTs. In India, there are police complaints being launched as NFTs, yes. There is examples of real estate, house ownership being trialed and piloted in some states, protection and enforcement of IP, and LVMH recently introduced a traceability certificate in NFTs. Admittedly, these are very, very, very small use cases. right now very small in numbers, and there's a lot of controversy, complaints, but then I don't know if how many of you are young enough to remember this, but when Google acquired YouTube, and YouTube was big enough back then, that also was a big controversial decision. That would YouTube lead to piracy? Would there be video constraints? Would there be IP constraints? And we know where YouTube stands today. So if there are complaints like there are about crypto and NFTs, I think that's a good thing. I think we're doing something right to ruffle feathers in traditional circles. And this leads me to what are conclusively potential 4 major applications that I believe that NFTs could contribute in. I broadly classified these into 4 segments. The first one is the frontier of building a community. I call it pre-launch. There was a time when AAA games would just post banner for giveaways on websites in Web 2, and that is how they started building communities. NFTs are a very good corollary to that, on how you can allow community to participate in your product pre-launch. The second one is where founding team has a direct connect with users and community. It allows them to build platform one-on-one without spending flashy millions of dollars and celebrity endorsements. And this is what Chris Dixon often talks about, the cold start problem. And NFTs really allow you to build community without spending big. The third one is the shift of tokenomics leading to NFT economics. More and more game designers are realizing that just solely relying on speculative demand and supply faucets and sinks of token in the game may not be sustainable. What many people don't actually realize is that faucets, sinks, token, all of these concepts have actually come from big traditional Web 2 games. These are not concepts that Web 3 birthed out of speculation. And this is the reason to build sustainability into it. Now there are models that are coming with NFT factories, where the NFTs, where the Genesis NFTs are given away free, and then more and more newer drops happen to the Genesis holders. And there is some thinking going on how many collections are good enough number of collections, and I think a figure of 5 collections over a space of 12 months is the current trend, but then we are to see. And last but not the least, where performance marketing will constantly swerve towards this hybrid model between Web 2 and Web 3, where there will be interoperability between these 2 games. So often performance marketing is thought to be something like you spend $3 on a user in the hope that they would spend $4 back. Actually, it's not. It's about spending $300 on 1,000 users, so then one of them or few of them would actually spend $1,000 on your games. In Web 2 games, whales are called as people who spend $1,000 in the whole year. And then towards the high end, of course, you have 10,000, 100,000, a million. Fortunately, unfortunately, in crypto, we already have bigger whales. People would easily spend $1,000, which is roughly 0.5 ETH, in a heartbeat. However, to monetize these whales and yet grow the community to a mass adoption needs newer models, and which is why there could potentially exist a confluence of Web 2 and Web 3, where you monetize these whales using Web 3 tactics and rare NFT drops in Web 3, but also develop a model of users playing your game for good experiences, like in Gas Hero using power, social wealth, with simplified games for game experience in Web 2. And last but not the least, I want to stress that I get asked this way too often. There were 2 events that I spoke yesterday, and again, what about bear, bull, cycle, how it's going to happen? And often it just takes one step back to look at where we are. So this is the crypto adoption cycle. There are 4 big activities that are happening here. So the market cap of crypto has actually shot up by 75%. The social activity have actually shot up by 63%. The dev activity, which is potentially the strongest indicator here, is 84% up. And the startup activity correspondingly is 62% up. So it's up only. Having said that, we all know that people who can build in a bear market, it's hard to even imagine what they can pull off in a bull market. So obviously NFA, DYOR, but this is why I strongly believe in my team, in our team at FSL, who are constantly building production-ready products like a game, like an NFT marketplace, like a DEX. In last year alone, we have dished out solid infrastructure in social consumer-facing apps like StepIn, like More, Door, Gas Hero. So build and build apps which lead to this consumer moment in crypto. This is a very good spectrum of what in Web 1, Web 2 would be considered in the spectrum of play, as Patron calls it, and what it has evolved to modern times. And we are very close to playing at that level. And this is why I believe that at FSL, we're heading towards in the right direction with StepIn, with Door, with More. With AI-led products like Fairmint, Smack is our anti-cheat model for StepIn, Gas Hero is our first Web3 social game, and GNT is our AI tool for creating NFTs and images on More. You can learn more about all of these products on Twitter and our Discord. And for any feedback or collaborations, you can hit me up here. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't leave any space for questions. It's probably only 30 seconds left, so we can take them up in DMs. Cheers. Bye-bye.